let's try to start from the beginning, and I guess
hmm
more specifically, since you are a composer, let's start with how did music impact you early on in your life, or did you notice it earlier on in your life? And I guess just take me up through middle school so far.
Totally. Music has always been there in my life. To me, I don't think music is any different than breathing or sunlight. It's always been there. I come from a wonderful family of musicians, and I'm very blessed for all the opportunity that my parents facilitated in regards to music, but also art in general. I'm just so very blessed. My mom, when I was growing up, she taught piano lessons, so she, a phenomenal classical pianist. So like, um if you're really into classical music, I would always hear Beethoven sonatas or Chopin playing. And when I think about being a kid and like falling asleep at night, and just feeling really warm and cozy, those pieces are 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 what flood my memory. And my dad, he is a percussionist. He plays drum set, but also has his own drum circle ministry, where he we have like a whole bunch of like African percussion, and he really enjoys bringing uh, that experience to all different types of events. And my brother is one of the greatest marching snare drummers in the world. So it's purely environment and opportunity. But my parents always said that, as a baby in the crib, I was singing myself to sleep, which is something I still do today. Uh, I don't still fall asleep in a crib. I've got
Yeah.
a bed,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm always singing to myself, and I think being in that environment and hearing great music all the time, it's just something that ingrained itself into my core as a person. Um, my mom took my brother and I to a it's like a music program for early development. So like I remember
Oh wow. Yeah.
like being like a 2 or 3 year old, and they taught us about rhythm, and we would play on cardboard instruments. And so it was always present from the very beginning. And um we had an opportunity growing up to pick an instrument, and my parents, again, very privileged that they offered this, but they set aside their time and resources to take me to private lessons. So I was like thinking to myself as a 7 year old, okay, what instrument should I pick? My brother chose piano, and I'm like, okay. And I don't know where this logic came from, but I was like, what's going to be an easy instrument that I could just absolutely get good at fast? Violin. And any like people in the orchestra world are probably like cringing at that, because they're like, doesn't it take like 10 years of playing that instrument to even like play in tune? And
Oh my
yes,
gosh.
you're absolutely right. You're going to sound really bad for about 10 years, but um I didn't know that as a 7 year old. I didn't know a whole lot. So please give me grace. So I started taking violin lessons, and I was fortunate enough to have a really great teacher. I grew up in York County, which there's not really a whole lot happening there. I always joke like, it's never the destination. You kind of go through York to get somewhere else, in Pennsylvania. But they had wonderful music resources there in the forms of teachers and then the school districts.
Oh
So
nice. Yeah.
I was blessed with a very fine violin teacher. Um, and that was my world, doing the orchestra thing, and that's how I made friends and kind of got out of my shell because I was a very shy kid. And then I really wanted to be like my older brother and be in the band. So in 6th grade, I decided to pursue another instrument, which happened to be saxophone, and I really loved it. We were playing, I mean, it was kind of classical stuff there too, and I really loved it. And I got another blessed opportunity to pursue private lessons for saxophone as well. And I started taking them, I think the summer after 6th grade, and there I encountered one of my greatest role models and coaches in my life, my saxophone teacher. And it was strange because I went in there and I wanted nothing to do with playing jazz or pop or R&B, anything like that. I just wanted to play the music that was playing on my violin, but like on the saxophone, because that's all I knew. That's all I cared about. I was really tunnel visioned when it came to music at that time. But my teacher kind of had me read some books, and he was like, "Oh, yeah, man, like you're doing really well at this. You want to try and learn these scales?" I was like, "Sure, yeah, absolutely." And then all of a sudden, he was having me play to backing tracks and studying Charlie Parker and John Coltrane, and he basically like forced me into jazz, which was like the best thing that could have ever happened to me, because that's also about the time that I started composing music of my own. And
Oh yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't really know anything about like how to compose music. I just kind of tried to like make stuff that sounded like the orchestra stuff I'd been playing my entire life. But jazz, the interesting thing about like making music on the spot, you learn a lot about how music functions, and that was integral for my compositions as well, because it's like, rather than just like guessing, I learned a bit about music theory and kind of incorporated like the orchestral sounds that were in my ear with the jazz composition training that I was learning um, from my saxophone teacher. And that's how I got into composition.